Good evening. The Modi government promised to bring back all the black money that's stashed abroad within the first 100 days. 100 days have come and gone, and after much criticism, the government today finally revealed three names. Not the big names by any stretch of the imagination. So what exactly is it that's holding the government back? Welcome to the news tonight. I'm Zaka Jacob. These are the headlines that we're tracking on the show tonight. After much ado, the government reveals three names of black money account holders. All three are business persons. No names of politicians revealed yet. The winter session of Parliament will begin from the 24th of November. More than 60 bills await their nod. The session will last a month. After getting snubbed in the polls, the Shiv Sena now offers unconditional support to the BJP. It says it will support any candidate that the BJP picks as its next chief minister. And it's the closest presidential runoff in the history of Brazil. Incumbent Dilma Rousseff secures a second term, beating her centre-right opponent, Aécio Neves. So the big story tonight, the centre named two persons and one company that's holding the government back. Welcome to the news tonight. I'm Zaka Jacob. These are the headlines that we're tracking on the show tonight. After much ado, the government reveals three names of black money account holders. All three are business persons. No names of politicians revealed yet. The winter session of Parliament will begin from the 24th of November. More than 60 bills await their nod. The session will last a month. After getting snubbed in the polls, the Shiv Sena now offers unconditional support to the BJP. It says it will support any candidate that the BJP picks as its next chief minister. And it's the closest presidential runoff in the history of Brazil. Incumbent Dilma Rousseff secures a second term, beating her centre-right opponent, Aécio Neves. So the big story tonight, the centre named two persons and one company for allegedly stashing black money in foreign accounts. Their names were revealed in an affidavit that was filed by the government in the Supreme Court today. The government says that the government of Switzerland has now indicated willingness to help with any probe done by the Income Tax Department in this case.
In an affidavit in the Supreme Court on Monday, the centre disclosed the names of three persons who have allegedly stashed untaxed money abroad. Pradeep Burman, director of the Dabur India Group, Pankaj Chimanlal Lodhia, a Rajkot-based bullion trader, and Radha S. Timlu, a Goa-based miner and owner of Timlu Private Limited. They are being prosecuted for tax evasion as unaccounted money was found in their foreign accounts.
हमने अपनी सेंसिटिविटी दिखाई थी और सरकार के सबसे पहले निर्णय में काले धन पर नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने निर्णय किया था और आज हमने स्पष्ट तौर से उच्चतम न्यायालय को वो तीन नाम प्रारंभिक तौर पर दिए हैं। जैसे जैसे जिन नामों की सूची हमारे पास है और जिस पर साक्ष्य और प्राप्त होता जाएगा, समय समय पर सरकार उनके बारे में जानकारी देती रहेगी।
Those accused have rejected the charges, claiming their accounts are legal. Dabur India issued a statement clarifying that its director was an NRI when the account was opened. Others denied having a Swiss account at all.
I don't have any Swiss account. Whatever the prosecution, we will just reply. और हमारा ऐसा कुछ है नहीं, जो भी है हमने बुक्स में जो है वो सब दिखा दिया है और जो भी है हमने ऑलरेडी डिक्लेयर कर दिया है।
I gave my explanation and once I see the affidavit and I will come back with a proper explanation and a press note.
The centre faced flack for revealing only three names so far. Opposition parties expressed disappointment with the present list of names.
Revealing just three names as once again expose the hypocrisy of BJP-led government, Mr. Modi government. The government has been talking about several names.
See, the three names which have been disclosed just now seem to be sort of small fry and somewhat innocuous names. We know that there are much more powerful and influential people who have held accounts which is in the knowledge and in the possession of the government.
Earlier, the government faced criticism for saying that tax treaties do not allow the disclosure of names till charges are framed in court. In Monday's affidavit, the government told the court that it has no intention of withholding names and they would be revealed in cases where tax evasion was established. With inputs from Ravindra Shoran, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So has the government made too much noise over this whole black money issue, not just in the campaign trail, but also within the first 100 days of this government? That was the promise. Now we've got all of just 3 names. Prashant Bhushan is a senior advocate of the Supreme Court, also one of the original petitioners in this black money case. He's now joining us live. What do you make of the 3 names that were revealed by the government in an affidavit today? 3 names: Pradeep Burman, Pankaj Lodhia, Radha S. Timblo. For want of a better phrase, not exactly heavyweights, either in a political sense or even in a business sense. What is the government trying to achieve by revealing these 3 names?
No, this is a distraction to my mind because these are really small fry. 2 years ago in November 2012, we had held a press conference where we had revealed at least 15 names, out of which one of them happens to be the same as what the government has revealed today, in which there were some really big fish, people like the Ambani brothers, people like Naresh Goyal, people like one of these Birlas, etc. Now, it's possible that some of these people may be holding their accounts legally, but the point is that 2 years is more than enough for the government to have done its investigations in this matter. And by now, the government ought to have found out that many of these account holders were clearly illegal.
So why, in your opinion, is the government afraid to go after the big fish?
Made by 3 of these persons.
Mr. Bhushan, why, in your opinion, is the government afraid to go after these big fish? Because after all, this was a big campaign pitch of the BJP and of Mr. Modi in specific, and yet 150 days plus into power, they still haven't revealed any of the big names, like you said, who are involved in this black money issue. Why are they afraid of going after the big fish?
No, the reason is very obvious. When you are in the opposition, it suits you politically to make a big issue of it and say that we will go after these people, we will reveal their names, we will get back this money, etc. But when you are in power and when your campaign has been funded by the same people, when you are also getting money from the same people or many of the same people, then obviously you are beholden to them, and you cannot, you try to help them as much as possible by holding back their names, by not revealing their names.
The government says, and this is a technicality as I understand, the government says in its defense that the reason it's not able to reveal many of these names is because a large chunk of these names, as I understand more than 600 of them, are covered under the Double Taxation Avoidance Treaty. As a lawyer, is that technically and legally accurate, or is that merely a defense?
No, that's just an excuse being made by the government, because the same excuse was made by the UPA government before the Supreme Court when this case was taken up in 2011. And in its judgment in 2011, the Supreme Court clearly rejected this defense or this excuse given by the UPA government of this double taxation treaty. The Supreme Court said that the double taxation treaty does not apply to these names. They also said that Germany has never told the Indian government not to reveal these names, etc. And in any case, you see, the Supreme Court's order directing the government to reveal these names to the Indian people overrides any double taxation treaty.
There is also a special investigation team. There's also a special investigation team that was appointed as per orders of the court and appointed by the government and headed by very eminent retired judges of the Supreme Court. Is the government, by selectively presenting these names to the court in affidavits, undermining the job of this SIT?
No, the government is saying that they have revealed the names to the SIT. Maybe they have. But the point is that the Indian people also need to know. The argument that is being given is that, look, if you reveal the names of legal holders of account, it will be a breach of privacy. But the Supreme Court has held, and the Right to Information Act also says, that the right to privacy is a weak right which is overridden by public interest.
So,
It is overridden by
final
other
word,
more
final word,
important
Mr.
rights
Bhushan. You
which
do
the
not
people of
expect, or
India
you do
have.
not buy into the government's defense that this is merely the tip of the iceberg, and with time they will reveal more names. You simply feel that the government will reveal the names that it's most convenient with, the names that cause the least amount of trouble, and the big fish will get away. Is that what you feel?
It looks like it. I think that the government may reveal some more names.
Okay.
But they are not. They are likely to hold back the names of the really big fish, which would cause trouble. That is, people and companies who have helped this government or who have funded the government,
All right.
or who are the crony capitalists of this government.
Okay, we'll have to leave it at that. I'm sure we will have opportunities in the future to discuss the same issue. This black money issue is clearly not going away, either from the courts or from the media or from public consciousness for that matter. For the moment, thanks very much. Prashant Bhushan, Senior Supreme Court Advocate and one of the original petitioners in this case. Thank you for joining us on the news tonight. Now, the winter session of Parliament will start from the 24th of November. It will last for about a month. Heavy legislative agenda is on the cards this session. It's scheduled to carry on till the 23rd of December. The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, headed by the Home Minister Rajnath Singh, today recommended the dates to the President. The session will have a total of 22 sittings, in which 4 days have been earmarked for private members' business. A total of 67 bills, that's 59 in the Rajya Sabha and 8 in the Lok Sabha, are pending. This will be the second major session of Parliament since the Narendra Modi government took over office back in May. Now, we still don't have a government in Maharashtra. Further softening its stand after the dropping in the polls, the Shiv Sena is now saying that it's ready to support any leader chosen by the BJP to be the next Chief Minister of Maharashtra. In an editorial this morning in its mouthpiece Samna, the party offered unrequited praise both for the Prime Minister as well as for the BJP President for winning the Assembly polls. It remains to be seen, though, whether the BJP and Sena can reunite after their split in the 25-year-old alliance.
With every passing day leading up to the formation of a new government in Maharashtra, Shiv Sena is cozying up to the BJP. The estranged allies are mulling a reunion to rule the state together for the next 5 years. Hinting further softening in stand, Shiv Sena has agreed to be a part of a government headed by a chief minister from the BJP.
चुनाव खत्म हुए हैं, कटुता खत्म हुई है। जो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नेता विधायक दल का होगा, जो मुख्यमंत्री होगा, और वो नेता यूनाइटेड महाराष्ट्र को मजबूत बनाएगा, आगे लेके जाएगा, देश में नंबर 1 राज्य बनाएगा। शिवसेना ने हमेशा ऐसे नेताओं को ताकत दी है और सम्मान किया है।
The Nationalist Congress Party has not given up either. It has kept its offer of support to the BJP open despite no formal talks between the two sides yet. The party said it would abstain if BJP seeks floor test as a minority government.
In the best interest of democracy, in the fulfillment of the latest mandate of the people of Maharashtra, we think we would be doing justice to the system by extending external support to Bharatiya Janata Party, which our leader Sharad Pawar has rightly said in Economics Times. And if at all show of strength on the floor of assembly is required to be done by Bharatiya Janata Party, we would abstain, thereby making a way for Bharatiya Janata Party to run the government.
However, the BJP is yet to take a final call on who to partner with in the new government. So far, the party has refused to put the Shiv Sena out of its misery by indicating whether a merger will be renewed.
Party has already said that this would be decided after Diwali, and the parliamentary board of the BJP has deputed very senior leaders to look at it and meet with the legislators. Everything will be known in due course.
The BJP's central observers, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh and JP Nadda, will attend the legislature party meeting in Mumbai on Tuesday and elect the next chief minister of the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, from the far west to the far east, where top security and intelligence chiefs of the country were in Burdwan today, the officials, which include National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, visited the blast site and assessed the progress being made in the investigations. NIA DG Sharad Kumar, NSG DG Jayant Narayan Chaudhary and Intelligence Bureau Director Syed Asif Ibrahim accompanied Mr. Doval during this visit. The security chief visited the house at Kaghragarh, where the blast took place. This was on Gandhi Jayanti, the 2nd of October. 2 suspected terrorists had died in that blast. All 4 then met with Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. Today's visit comes ahead of the union government's decision to send a report to Bangladesh following a request from that country.
Interlinked offences which are of such grave nature as much as huge misappropriation of funds used for the purpose of terrorist activities and involvement of certain international links in terror activities. These are all matters of serious repercussions.
देखिए, जो सच्चाई है वो देश के सामने आनी चाहिए। इसका इन्वेस्टिगेशन जो हो रहा है बहुत अच्छा है और पूरी मालूमात देश के सामने आए। जो लोग जिम्मेदार हैं उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
एनआईए को गंभीरता से सारे तथ्यों की सिर्फ जानकारी नहीं रखनी चाहिए, बल्कि देश को एक एक तथ्य बताने चाहिए। और क्योंकि ममता बनर्जी की सरकार में यह जो आतंकवादी और अलगाववादी और ये तमाम जो विस्फोटक रखने वाले तत्व हैं, ये भारत और बांग्लादेश के संबंधों को भी खराब करने के लिए काम कर रहे थे।
Some business news now. In the benchmark Sensex today retreated from 1-month highs. It fell about 98 points. Now, this was the first drop in 6 sessions. There were major losses in blue chips like Hindustan Unilever, Tata Motors and Reliance. The NSE Nifty also fell by about 23 points to end below the key 8,000 level. Investors have been booking profits. At the end of the session, the Sensex stood at 26,752. That's a fall of 0.3%. In fact, almost 0.4%. The Sensex had gained more than 850 points. That's about 2.28% over the last 5 sessions. So the broader Nifty also falling by 22.85 points in those last 5 sessions, about 0.3% to end just a shade under 8,000, 79.91. Stocks of the FMCG giant Hindustan Unilever tumbled 4.75% after it forecast softer demand environment. Shares of the realty giant DLF, which have already been pummeled, fell by close to 8% today on concerns that the company may face a fresh probe in land deals in Haryana. After Cyclone Hudhud wreaked havoc on the eastern coast back on the 12th of October, the western coast is now bracing for another cyclone. This one is Nilofer. The cyclone is building up in the Arabian Sea. It's expected to hit the coastal areas of Gujarat, Saurashtra and Kutch by Friday morning. Its impact is likely to be felt on the adjoining Pakistan coast as well. Officials are preparing for all eventualities. They've already started evacuating families and stockpiling food. The National Disaster Response Force has also been put on high alert in Gujarat.
पहले तो मछुआरों को बुला लिया है, वापस आ जाइए, एक काम पूरा कर दिया है। दूसरा जो 25-50 किलोमीटर अंदर उसका इफेक्ट होने वाला है, तो हम लोगों ने अभी से कहा है कि जो ट्री है उसका ट्रिमिंग कर दें, जिसकी वजह से जो फॉल हो जाता है ट्री वो ना हो।
पूरी तरह से अलर्ट हो चुका है। विविध डिपार्टमेंट के अधिकारियों को तुरंत में बुला करके उसको सभी अगमचेती के जो स्टेप्स है लेने के लिए बता दिया गया है।
Time now to get you all the other stories that have made the headlines across the nation today in Nationwide. The Supreme Court today refused to hear the National Drug Regulator's petition to withdraw price guidelines for non-essential drugs. The court said the issue can be raised before the competent authority. Just earlier this year, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority had empowered itself to cap the prices of more than 100 cardiac and diabetes drugs. Shops and schools remained shut in Srinagar over a Bandh call given by the Hurriyat Conference on Infantry Day. Heavy police presence was seen all across the state capital in a bid to prevent violence as well as protests. 2 people were killed in a clash between the ruling Trinamool Congress and BJP cadre in West Bengal's Birbhum district. 4 people were injured. A police team was also attacked in Bakra village when it tried to detain a suspect involved in a bomb attack on a police officer just a couple of days ago. Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje today inducted 14 new ministers into her cabinet. 4 of them have been given cabinet rank. 6 were sworn in as ministers of state with independent charge. This is the first cabinet expansion since the BJP came to power in Rajasthan last December. A 1,000-hour-long Bandh crippled normal life in Assam Monday. The Bandh is reportedly in protest against the delay in creating a separate state of Karbi Anglong under Article 244A of the Constitution of India. We're going to take a break here in the programme. When we return, all the international stories, including the last of the British troops leaving Helmand in southern Afghanistan. This is the start of an extended drawdown of all NATO troops by the end of the year. Those stories and more when the News Tonight returns. Welcome back. You're watching the News Tonight. Time now to focus on diplomatic as well as other international stories. The Prime Minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Thanh Dung, arrived in New Delhi today for a two-day visit. Mr. Thanh Dung will hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi Tuesday. Vietnam is expected to seek India's active support on rows in the South China Sea that it has with China. Thanh Dung has said that Indian ships would be allowed into the area despite protests from China. In a move that's likely to irk China, India and Vietnam will sign an agreement tomorrow for oil exploration in the South China Sea. It will be given to the overseas wing of ONGC Videsh. Now, India's renewed the lease of 2 oil blocks in the South China Sea earlier this year when President Pranab Mukherjee visited Vietnam. Dilma Rousseff has been re-elected president of Brazil for a second term. She secured 51% of the votes in what was one of the most closely fought runoff polls in the history of Brazil. Winning just a year after a storm of protests, expectations are now high for the second term of Dilma Rousseff.
Hoje estou muito mais forte, mais serena e mais madura para a tarefa que vocês me delegaram. Brasil, mais uma vez, esta filha tua não fugirá da luta.
The victory come acceptance speech of now second-time Brazil President Dilma Rousseff. Her Workers' Party returns to power. Only last year, Rousseff had faced strong criticism over her economic policies. Record spending on the Football World Cup and poor services threatened to wipe her out. She'd faced strong protests too last year. What worked in her favor were the government's welfare programs and an aggressive campaign to market them. It's a vote that comes with a large dose of hope.
Voto de esperança é o que é uma reeleição. Muito especialmente na melhoria dos atos dos que até então vinham governando.
Her opponent, centrist candidate Aécio Neves, had put up quite a fight, and the finish was a close one, with a narrow margin of votes, just 51% to his 49%, the slimmest margin in Brazil's history. Neves had also campaigned on a development plank, promising a modern, rational approach in a struggling Brazilian economy. He got into the runoff stage, but fell just short in the end.
Visitei agora há pouco por telefone a presidente reeleita e desejei a ela sucesso na condução do seu próximo governo. E ressaltei que considero que a maior de todas as prioridades.
The challenges facing Dilma Rousseff are huge. International markets are nervous about the high level of government intervention in the economy. Many of those Brazilians whose lives have improved in recent years want more, especially services including better health education and a reduction in Brazil's chronic levels of crime. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Now, after 13 long years, British and American troops have formally ended their combat operations in Helmand in Afghanistan. The Defense Ministry there welcoming the decision and saying that their military is now ready to take over. As of now, though, British forces and US Marines will continue to secure some of the adjoining bases as they wait for orders for complete withdrawal, which they have to do by the end of this year.
The flag's coming down for the last time in Afghanistan's Helmand province. It marks the end of 13 years of US Camp Leatherneck and UK's Camp Bastion.
There is a better chance of a more stable future in Afghanistan because we have a government there of national unity and an army that is supported by the local population and an army that's already proved itself over the last couple of years that it is prepared to tackle the Taliban in some of the more difficult areas.
Afghanistan's defense ministry said the nation is ready to safeguard its security. In the absence of any foreign military presence, the Afghan National Army's 215th Corps will be headquartered at the base in Helmand.
ان استقبال میکنین خب ما به خاطر از اینکه ظرفیت خود بازمون گرفته باشین از تقریبا نزدیک به 2 سال بیطرف کل عملیات‌های زمینی خود ما تقریبا کمی بیشتر از 2 ماه آینده باید تمام نیروهای خارجی
Camp Leatherneck and Camp Bastion were the global coalition's regional headquarters for the southwest Afghanistan. From 40,000 military personnel and civilian contractors initially, the number of troops went over 140,000 in 2010. Now, by January 1st, that number will be about 12,500. They will be mostly trainers and advisors. Out of these, 9,800 will be American and the rest of other NATO member nations. Britain will keep a small contingent in Kabul. The US military leaves behind not only property and equipment worth $230 million for the Afghan military, but also the bigger challenge of dealing with the Taliban insurgency entirely to the newly installed President Ashraf Ghani. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, more international news coming up in Global Buzz. Voters in Ukraine elected a majority pro-Western parliament today. The new parliament is expected to back President Viktor Poroshenko's attempts to end the ongoing violence in the eastern part of his country. Russia welcomed the verdict, but also warned Kiev against so-called Ukrainian nationalism. China State Councillor Yang Jiechi reached Hanoi on Monday for a meeting of the China-Vietnam Steering Committee for Bilateral Cooperation. Both nations agreed to implement provisions related to land borders, as well as quickly resolve border management problems. They will also set up a working group on infrastructure, as well as monetary cooperation. A second Washington school shooting victim, 14-year-old Gia Soriano, died today. Soriano was one of the 4 teens who was critically injured after the high school freshman Jalen Freiberg opened fire inside the cafeteria of the Marysville-Pilchuck High School Friday. Freiberg later killed himself. 11 people were killed and 23 injured in Baghdad when a suicide car bomber rammed an explosive-laden car into a checkpoint manned by Iraqi troops. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. It took place on the outskirts of the Sunni town of Jurf al-Sakhar, 50 kilometers south of the capital. In South Korea, prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for the captain of the capsized ferry Seoul. At least 294 people, a large majority of them children, were killed in that disaster back in April of this year. The prosecution has also asked for life terms for 3 other crew members who were involved in this disaster. Remember, South Korea has not seen a single execution in the last 17 years. And finally, all the sports stories coming up in Sports Beat. Boxing India has appealed to the International Boxing Association to revoke the suspension of L. Sarita Devi. Sandeep Jajodia, the president of the Indian sports body, said that Sarita's unconditional apology as well as impeccable record will be the crux of her defence before the world body. South African football captain Seno Mayewa died after being shot in a dispute Sunday. Police say that Mayewa was shot after 2 men entered his house, a township very close to Johannesburg. 27-year-old Mayewa captained South Africa in their last 4 matches in the African Nations Cup qualifiers. Andy Murray crushed Tommy Robredo in a grueling Valencia Open final in Spain Sunday. The world number 10 Murray trumped Robredo in a grueling 3-6, 7-6, 7-6 win. It puts the world number 10 one step closer to the ATP World Tour Finals qualification. And that's a wrap of the news tonight, this Monday edition. From me, Zaka Jacob, and the rest of the team, thanks for your time. We'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time. Good night.